any particular type of coughing that you might have. Whenever you have that really sticky cough and that mucous membrane is going back and forth, and maybe there's a child. I work with children a lot, and so a lot of times when they do have some cough, their lungs tend to get very, very soft, and so they're kind of being pulled to the ground. So that particular type of muscle spasm, the beautiful thing about roses, they're astringent. So they help to kind of bring that to form, bring that wonderful liquid into the lungs so we can digest it and break it down and get rid of it. So tinctures can be used for those particular types of health and wellness, but you can also use them for everyday support. Like I'm pretty sure we all have some sort of bath wash or body product that has roses in it. Roses have the building blocks of collagen, of peptides, and so if you wanted to extract those beautiful peptides from those roses, you would use it with alcohol, you would use it with witch hazel and acid, or with honey. And so by extracting it with honey, it's going to give you those benefits of that beautiful skin, that glow that I have on right now. Because I put on roses, yeah, I put on rose butter. But that's what tinctures do. And so they can help for everyday wellness. And for kids, they're kind of an easier way for them to get adjusted, supported with natural medicine before we get them used to other medicines because it's fun for them. They can go out and pick the roses. You can put them in a jar just like this. You can then cover it with 75% alcohol or a sugar alcohol. I prefer brandy if you're working with elderly or children or anyone that's missing organs. I'm missing organs, so I actually stay away from quite a bit of alcohol and I go with brandy because brandy is softer than sugar. Alcohol, it's easier on the digestive tract, and you'll get those benefits of the roses in there. And if you mix it with honey, you get an octomel. And so if you do half and half, that alcohol with that wonderful honey, then you'll get a different liquid. So I use apple cider vinegar to make my tinctures instead of alcohol. So when you use an apple cider vinegar instead in your tincture, first I'm gonna say there are three liquids that you can use for tincture. Let's go that way. One is going to be your alcohol, like your grain alcohol. We live in Texas, so many people have their own stills, so they make their own alcohol. And so I try to keep it from 75 to 70% of a grain alcohol if you're using alcohol. Alcohol is very drying for the body. So if someone already has a very dry body, you probably don't want to give them an alcohol-based tincture. You would go with maybe an apple cider vinegar tincture. So that's the other liquid. Instead of alcohol, you can use apple cider vinegar. And that vinegar, within 2 weeks, you can fill a jar halfway with your dry herb, which is going to be dried roses or some dried roses. And then you would cover that to the top of that jar, any jar. This could be any jar. Let's say, for example, 1 ounce jar. So once you cover that, you close it, you put it away in a dark, cool place for 2 weeks. After those 2 weeks, every day you're going to mix it, by the way. You're taking notes, so I want to make sure you get this right. So every day you're going to mix it. And for those 2 weeks, those 12 days, you can even go up to 24 days if you want to get very sciencey on it, very energetic. Maybe the moon is not perfect yet. So you can go with that astrological connection as well. But after those 12 days or 24 days, then you would have your extraction. And so that extraction, you would essentially strain whatever plant matter, and that particular liquid would be your tincture. You would then bottle that tincture liquid in a small vial, 1 ounce vial, and you can take that every day as needed. Because this is a folk method, which means this is a mom and pop, old school. That means your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpappy created this medicine for you. This is a folk method. We're going back to ancient and old traditions because that's what our children are going to retain. So when you do this folk method of this tincture, then you would take it as needed. So grandmother knew that if she took a tonic or a tincture of rose, that it would be for the heart, for the spirit of the heart, for broken hearts, for grief, for blood, to move the blood. See this color, pink, roses is pink. So the doctors of signatures show us that pink is for the heart, for romance, for opening up again, for finding spring, connecting with the energy and the vibration of that beautiful mama spirit, that womb spirit, That's what she is. And if you mix that with apple cider vinegar, then you get this beautiful, wonderful rose vinegar where it really helps the body, the internal organs, brings the organs back into shape, hydrates the organs at that point because now we're extracting the minerals, and those minerals are vital for our collagen intake. It's also vital for the organs to keep hydrated. So you can make that vinegar with a little bit of oil, and now you have a rose, vinaigrette for your strawberry salad in spring. So you can play it that way. You want to make sure that you use things that are already in your kitchen when you're working with tinctures, because that means that you're always going to use it, and then your family's going to recognize it. Your children, you're young, they're going to recognize that you're using olive oil. So they're going to record that in their mind. So we start with these recipes at home. It's going to be great for your herbalism journey. The last liquid that I would use would be an oil. So you could use a coconut oil, a fractionated liquid coconut oil, or you would use in place of that a honey, which is very traditional. Honey was one of the first liquids ever used to extract these beautiful compounds of these herbs. Many different indigenous people and wonderful, amazing tribes still do this today. Honey is antibacterial. Honey is soothing for us. Honey has the vibration and the song of the deities. So when we connect with that honey, we also get the vibration of the land. It's very spiritual for us. And so when we have a cut, we can use the honey infused to support us in that way. So what I have here is just what it would look like if you infuse these roses that I have here with alcohol. And this is a grain alcohol. So it would look like this. So this is what it would be after 2 weeks. Then I would bottle this up and then I would, merchandise it and sell it to my apothecary. That's what they're getting and you're doing. And so this would this would be up to a 5-year mark. So I would write it down that I created it April 20th under this particular Saturn moon, whatnot, gave it that energy or gave it that cultural response that I needed to, that love and that beautiful connection to heal others. And then I would mark, when the ending date would be, when it would expire. And so I would do 5 years.
On any of those 3 versions?
And any of those 3 versions, I would do 5 years. Now, if you're working with, so the intention here is that you're making medicine because you need it. Our parents and our ancestry made medicine because they needed it. They're not making medicine just to save. So think about like when you're using this and how you're using this. And that's why it's good to work seasonal and to work with recipes. Like I said, that strawberry summer salad, to work with those. So I'm going to pass these around so y'all can have these and work with these. I'm going to bring that up here because you're recording, right? Yeah. So we're having to please take time. There we go. Now we're going to my made my pill.
Not an apple cider vinegar. You're saying put in like,
And then there's the jar. Here.
say that jar right there. That'd be the right size, so it's not too much or not.
Let's talk about that. So I usually go with, and that's to get the understanding your mind. Yeah. Like this. What to have. So these are dried roses. So I'm using these dried roses that Mary brought. You can use fresh roses. I'm going to tell you the difference to fresh versus dry. Like, yeah. Wow. Then I'll hear them and then let you start. And then, because my lecture will kind of, it's a hands-on. Okay. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I can try. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. So I'll go first. Yeah, I'll bring you in, which is good. I think
That's edible.
yes, but not the roses are delicious. And Mary has a lot of experience, and she'll talk about those. Mary has quite a bit of experience with culinary. I have more experience in medicinal and how to bring it into your kids' food. So we'll do that. Okay. My friends, once you grab your rose, make sure you grab one little rosette because we're going to work with the little rosette first and taste them.
That one.
Taste them because this morning I showered them with water, so they're like very hydrated. They have a lot of beautiful, amazing perfume. This is Peggy Martin. If you're looking to practice this, go to the Great Outdoors, go to your neighborhood mom and pop. These are Peggy Martin. These will thrive in clay soil. So I live in Blackline Prairie, and so you can have very clay soil, very thick clay.
They don't
soil.
look very thorny.
No, they don't feel thorny. Their thorns are very small. But I also adapt them to grow in an apple tree. So they're growing over the apple tree. And so this is my food forest. And so you can look that up on PBS, KLRU. And that's growing in my apple tree. And so they hang over like a weeping willow. And so they're easy for us to utilize as medicine. And the kids can pick them whenever they're harvesting them as well.
In the back.
Okay, did everybody get some rose? Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. Can you hear me in the back? Okay, good. All right. All right, my friends. Once you grab your roses, and those of you that are watching from home, you can go and grab some roses as well. You have some roses in front of you in your garden. I'm sure you're tuning in because you have some lovely fascination about roses. And so I'm using one dried rose for this particular. Uh, I'm gonna close the tincture portion of this, but I'm using one dried rose. So if you already have roses for our jar, you could use small rosettes like these dried ones, which is exactly what these little roses do. These Peggy Martin. Once you dry them, I just dry them in a clothespin outside. It's hot. We'll let summer do its work and support us in that way environmentally. And so you can hang these upside down, and you'll see these little baby rosettes. Those are what you would do when they would dry after 2 days. Nice. There's a nice little wind. After they dry about 2 days, then you would be able to bottle them up and have them just in this jar like this. Mary Kraemer. But what I do, I just kind of decorate my roses. I prefer the greenery versus the flowers. So I love how the greenery looks. I'm always cutting the heads of the roses. And my neighbor freaks out. Like, no, they were so pretty. I'm like, yes, look, the green. And so I dry these upside down, just in a clothespin, and this becomes what's going to go in my tincture bottle. Now you could use whatever jar size that you wanted. The jars that we have in front of us range 1 ounce to 5 ounce to 16 ounce. We even have, a bigger, larger size. You could use this after you were done eating this lovely honey. So with your jar, for a full method, what I do, this is just so you can visualize this and do it yourself because you can never be scared on making medicine. All right. Your ancestry did this a long, long time ago, and we should still be doing this. Herbalism is the people's medicine. And so when your jar is like this, you want to fill your jar halfway with your dried herbs. So I'm going to demonstrate that just so you can see it. So, right. So you have your dried roses, and you want to do about halfway. You see this? This is halfway of any jar that you're using. Any jar that you're using, making medicine's not hard. So once you have it like this, then you would use whatever liquid, call it menstruum, whatever liquid. This could be apple cider vinegar. This could be liquid honey. This could be coconut oil, whatever liquid that you're using. You want to cover it just about the top. You see that? So it's basically the other half as well.
Like covering the roses.
Covering the roses. We are covering the rose. And so once we cover it, yeah, I will get to you. So once we do that important part, I always make it. Why? Because there's still air in these dried, roses. Could you use fresh, like the ones that you have? Yes, you could. Here's the problem with using fresh herbs. This is where you start doing your science as an herbalist, or you get very into chemistry. Every single live plant contains water. That water mixing with whatever alcohol, oil, sugar, is going to create some sort of chemical reaction, pulling that water out, which means this could also cause fungus, this could cause bacteria, this could cause some issues. But it's rare, but you could use the fresh ones. When would you use the fresh ones? And have I used and will I use fresh ones? Yes, I make some fresh rose alcohol tincture today. I know it's going to be ready for me to fresh because it does contain liquid, it does contain water. It's going to be ready for me in about 5 days. Now, this is a quick extraction. So then it's kind of up to you traditionally, because I'll have people, well, my mom used fresh all the time, and nothing went bad in her recipe. I'm like, well, find that recipe, because it obviously worked for your mom. So find those recipes that work for you. The folk method allows you to make mistakes, but it also allows you to find some achievement. And so I would use fresh when I'm making a vinegar, because I want to taste those kind of tart notes that the rose has. I would use fresh roses when I'm making a balm or cream, so I get that nice little soft, lacy, feeling of those roses and my ghost milk, butter, or a soap that I'm gonna give away for a friend. So you can use it in that way. So the petals right now do have that active medicine for you. And so you would utilize the fresh petals in dessert, in salads, in buttercreams. You would use it in sugary tasting, beautiful teas. You would use them in that way. If you're doing sushi rolls, they're really great with fruit sushi. The kids really love it. Your question, my friend? Yes. Yes. So we're spring. So the best time to harvest roses and vulnerability is going to be the petals for around this season. Now, yes, if we were going into December, we were going into more of the colder, then we would harvest. So a lot of growers don't give us the rose hip here in Central Texas, I find. You have to get really lucky. I have found that Rosa Milagrosa have the rose hip, and those are wonderful roses that are just, wouldn't say drought tolerant, but they're heat adapted, and they do have really big hips. And those hips, those rose hips, are great medicine for just the blood. They're great antiseptic as well if you're utilizing them on topical connection. And they're great for immunity as well. So rose hips are really good. I believe it's called a Julia Child Yellow Rose. She might be in there if you want to pass that green tub around. And the Julia Child Yellow Rose is right in front. It has like a buttery scent if you want to smell it, and has a very kind of cookie. So those have really big rose tips that I've found. So those would be really good for medicine. The cardinals love that. Did we have another question? We move on to the next. Okay, good. Yes. My dad had here. I was here. Okay. What's this? Yeah, there's one in there that's like bright pink. That's the only Rosa Milagrosa that I have. And that was La Jequeña también. So that one in particular, my grandmother had that one. There we go. Smell it. I got excited because the scent in that one is just have everyone pass it around and smell it. It's a treat to smell this one in blue because he does have that beautiful, it matches your berry experience. It does have that beautiful perfume and it'll make this big rose hip. But it is sparingly. If you go to Oregon, if you go to the Pacific Northwest, or if you go to the coast in New York, Hudson, the Catskills, roses are plenty. They're beautiful. I recommend going out there and checking that valley as well. Okay, so once you have done this, does anybody have any questions on this simple tincture?
How long do you let that?
You let it take 12 days. you want to get a little bit, I like to taste the medicine. I was that kid. Give me the nice one. That was weird. Yes, but it led me to like this strange, like this kind of tastes really good and it's immunity supportive. Rose hip does have a wonderful tradition in the European world as well as being the first syrup to really help out the immunity. And so you would see a lot of midwives that would be sharing that particular medicine. And so roses are really great for that particular cold season. And so once you have this, it tastes really sweet and a little bit tart, depending on what liquids that you're using. If you're using the alcohol, they're a little bit tannic as well. So then I would mix that with like juice or water as well. And so while you can use this every day as a natural supplement for connecting back to your minerals, I do kind of have this connection of trying to figure out more about roses, more about medicinal roses, what grows well for you, and what you're using them for. So after this, you have done something like this beautiful friend here. Now you can mix that with honey. So you would mix half and half with honey to add some sweetness. So let's say you're making a cough syrup for a kid. I saw your eyes. So half this you would pour out to another jar, and then you would add honey. So let me demonstrate. So we're going to pour out after those 2 weeks, right? This is where we are now. We're in the future. So you would take out, can you see me? There we go. Just about that. So see how there's just half of this liquid? You see half of this liquid, everyone? All right. So we're going to make a syrup. We're going to call this beauty syrup. All right, because it has the compound for that supportive collagen connection. Rose is known for protecting the skin. So we're going to use this as an everyday syrup. We're going to put this in our lattes and make a rose latte later. So we'll go that way. So we're going to then put the rest. See, we're missing half. We're missing there's half. So then we're going to put honey in here. So then we would just put honey in here, your liquid honey. What kind of honey works best, Jesus? Well, I find that your local honey works best. This is Walker. So find a honey that's regional to you. So if you're going to go out to New York and harvest the roses out there in Hudson, then find a local honey out there as well while you're making that medicine. That's what makes it special. That's what makes it really bring a legacy to whoever you're with and who you're around. It creates an impact. Those particular individuals from the past that are seeing you create that medicine. Once we have it like this, that beautiful amber color.
And that would be after 12.
Then you would do another 12 days. Yes.
Okay.
So
you would do that after the first 12 days. Then you would do that for another.
You would do it another 12 days. Some herbalists will wait 5 days. We're using the folk method. This is what works for me and my family traditions. Find what traditions work for you, because everyone has it a little bit different. You can also get very scientific and look at all those wonderful, amazing qualities of how much precise honey to how much alcohol liquid. Once you do this, you would want to take it every day for about 5 to 12 days. After those 12 days, you want to keep this in the fridge, somewhere cool. You can start taking this as a syrup. You can start taking this as a syrup every single day, and this is enough. If you take 1 teaspoon, it should be enough for 12 days. So it should be anywhere from 10 to 12 days. And so this would be a good serum for rehydrating the body. It's going to be really good for acute pain. It's going to be great for supporting your GI. As well, it's going to be great for collagen supportive intake. So that's how you would make honey and honey syrup. Now you could use any herb. If we're working with passion flower is next month. So if we're working with passion flower, it would be the same. We would just be working with passion flower or a different herb like sage and doing the same particular thing here. Do we have any questions on the syrup?
They in the jars now, take it home and have it plenty later.
You can do that. You can, what I would suggest is making your tincture because that's going to be your base. That's after you make your tincture, then you can do all the beautiful herbalism products. You can look at the recipes online and get wild with whatever your favorite herbalist is. So the this one in particular, we'll particularly put these in here. You can take them home. Yeah. Yeah, so if you want to make one, yeah, definitely come up and grab. I see a lot of materials on your wonderful, amazing plate. So if you want to make one, we do have the materials for you to make them. So what I'm to do is you take one base stone, bring it back to this basic. So you're gonna have your jar. You're gonna fill your herbs, whatever, whether it be dried or if you're going to use your fresh herbs, you can use that. And then you can fill that with honey or you can fill it with whatever particular alcohol. And so since this one is already created for us, which is brandy, which is a great alcohol to use, then what will happen is we will then pour this in these jars. We will let it sit for 12 to 24 days. And that will be your tincture. You would strain it, and then that would be what you would take almost every single day. So that's what this is here for you right there. And if you wanted to add some sweetness, you can put it in the fridge. I think keep it in a dark, cool place. So I keep it in the cupboard. Then keep it in the refrigerator. So yes, since we are getting to warmer days, all medicine that you're making, natural medicine, you want to preserve it. And a way to preserve it, well, a great way to preserve it is with honey. Honey's a natural preservative. So this is why we're working with honey. And I want to put it into your mind that you should always have honey around because it's a great antibacterial as well when you don't have medicine. And so honey is a great preservative. So what you want to do to preserve it longer is keep it in the fridge. If we were in December, if we were working in fall, then I would say just keep it on the counter. But heat's rising here.
But for the first 12.
For the first 12 days. And then it's just kind of in that same sense, like anytime I want to preserve natural medicine, I want to keep it in the fridge. That way. All right, my friends. So I am going to do something that I'm known for here in Central Texas. And that's why I want you to connect with this rose. We're going to do a little meditation. Sometimes I get called by the city. I work with the city as a educator, state vendor, and I'm also on some programming. I'm also on some shows. And a lot of the times I get called, especially with little ones, those that have passed and those that have yet become. We do some ceremonies with roses. And so we started doing ceremony. I started doing ceremonies with roses for those that were grieving, that have lost people in times of trouble. So during 2020, we went out to the food forest and we started doing ceremonies for those that needed it, those that were grieving people. And I get called to do a lot of funerals. And when it comes to state funerals, working with those that have passed, especially children, working in hospice care, there's one botanical that I work with a lot, and that's roses. So roses are ancestral. Whether we like it or not, we have all been connected to this mother before. She has sent her vibration, her kindness, and her love to us, even when we probably didn't deserve it. You know, she really brings us that protection that we need from others and gives us that room that we need to breathe. We see Rose having the thorns, and the thorns bring us that perspective on how to protect our boundaries, how to protect our young, how to really bring in what we need. Since they are astringent, they bring in that energy to bringing back what we deserve in this life, bringing back our goals and our ideals for ourselves. So I want everybody to grab one rose. I want you to hold it in your hand. I want you to look at the rose. Now, you'll connect it back to your root, to your rose garden. And once you have that rose in front of you, we want to take a deep breath in. We want to ask our ancestors, our guides, those that we love that have passed, to come back into this space to help us feel our rose root. We take a deep breath in. We ask the rose to bring us love. To connect us back to our true purpose. To help us see our future. To bring us back to the goals of our ancestors. We ask the Mother Rose to embrace us, to bring us direction, to protect our spirit, and to help us to share abundance to those that need it in this world. As we find ourselves in a garden of roses, we open our gaze, take a deep breath in as we look into this rose and we see ourselves. We feel ourselves blooming together, strengthening our garden, being in community. We bring this rose to our heart. As we bring love back to our spirit, our body, and our mind. And we give gratitude and presence for being here, connected, sharing this legacy, sharing this bouquet of knowledge and truth. The rose reminds us with her thorns who we really are, whether we like it or not. She brings us that glimmer of hope early in the morning when we feel lost. She strengthens our roots for our family. Brings us to that beautiful awareness of spring. Take a deep breath in, my friends. Don't fall asleep just yet. The power of roses, such beautiful energy. And the biggest energy really is about legacy, sharing that legacy with our children and supporting each other in that garden. May the roses really bring you that awareness back, bring you that vibration. Climbing roses give us that spirit, persevere, finding ways to climb through, to find that beautiful view that deserves to be within our realm. That's what she does. So not only is she medicine, she's also spiritual connection to the ether, to those that we cannot see, and those yet to come into this world. Our young and their young will always have this answer. It's up for us to act like the rose, to rejoice, to bring that kindness back, to find ourselves and to give ourselves to that medicine. My friends, I want to make sure that you are doing okay So make sure that you're stretching, you're shaking a bit. I saw some tears come through. Roses are really great when we are, working with grief and the heart. She's such a blessing. We have about 36 different types of roses in our food forest with the Herbal Action Project, and primarily they're there for children because they really do find ways children do to connect back to the soul spirit. And a lot of the times it's that grandma spirit that we want. We want that mama spirit to come through. I'm going to open this up for questions before I depart and give Mary some space for her lecture. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, my friend.
Yes,
Okay, the question was are all roses right? And there some pros and cons to maybe commercial roses versus organic roses. Well, we all want that really prime David Austin organic. So there are variations of roses and there's different steps for roses. And as a collector and someone who grows roses, um, there are some commercial ones, but I'm gonna say that even the knockout rose, that red commercial rose that everyone hates, I love it. I love the way she looks. She brings in a lot of pollinators. She's my friend. And so, I think that just working with what roses inspire you and bring you life and love in your garden, look out for those. But I primarily like, if I'm working with teas, I'm going to seek out a tea, rose that tastes really good, has soft flavor, and also brings some healing. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes.
I would say roses that come from the forest or something.
Yeah. Question was this morning, roses toxic. So talk about plants. Don't go out. There's a lot of orchards out there. So work with people that understand these spaces, work with individuals that have history working with native herbs. Because when you're working with wild plants, they're still wild. And so we don't the science of them, the chemistry, we need to investigate more before we try to eat or taste anything. And so with most plants, the toxicity ranges. So I wouldn't say that, the while you could buy something and eat something doesn't mean that it's right. So do some research. Yes. And
Bread.
is that it? So you have to put down those, go, sure, go grow. Try to find neighborhoods that if my neighbor's road is doing really good, I want that road. Because obviously we're the same land and same environment. So I want something that's gonna thrive. And so look for your mom and pop, your growers, your native growers, there's some native roses. We all want that green rose and it's hard to get, some roses to grow here. But try to figure out which ones work well for you. Any other questions? Yes, my friend.
Would you get if you are water with dry or fresh? And then I know some people like they can buy it homegrown and they perfect here.
Yeah, so rose water. So maybe rose water and what are the benefits for conversion. So you can make rose water at home. It's very simple. You make rose water or rose
Okay.
rose nectar. So you can do a double boiler method to make some rose water, and it's really simple to do it at home. And there are many different ways you can hook up. I would say try to do it in a double boiler like cooking method at home first. There are people that use stills. I have a huge copper still, and I use that to make floral water when I'm doing quite a few other different events. But I would say my best water comes from my counter, and I have a little skillet, an outdoor skillet, and so you could use those particular types of kitchen tools to create those.
Basically a pot or something with lid.
It's a pot that that's correct. So you basically would put I always have the plate that has like an indentation like this, like little metal plate. So if you go to the HK market, if you go to the Fiesta, you'll see these little bowls that are exactly like this, but they're copper or metal. That goes into your pot. You put water in your the bottom tank, and it's going to collect. So your rose water will collect in the middle of this divot. That's how it works. Now
On the outside,
the rose is on the outside. Mm-hmm.
as they boil,
As it's boiled,
they drip into the middle and that makes rose water.
that would be your rose water. And so it's very simple to do. And you can look at maybe like a 30-second tutorial. But you can't go wrong with it because you have your own medicine at that point. So it's very easy. A lot of home, if you're doing like a home spray, you can do it that way as well. You can do extractions with witch hazel as well and do the rose witch hazel as well. They're very simple because they're kitchen. So I do want to mention because people were looking, I think we're even looking at this. Uh, these recipes that I'm talking about, these can be found at with Rosemary Glasstar, my favorite teacher. Rosemary Glasstar has homemade remedies, and so on here she teaches you how to make a rose glyceride, a honey rose essence, which is very popular in the box formula for children's medicine. So anything from Rosemary Glasstar is really good, and Rosalie Delacour is awesome. Oh yeah, here we go.
You have to wrap.
And I'm gonna
Like
pass
that.
her.
And then that-
But I would say that the best recipes, honestly, my mom will hate me for this, but true. She loves roses, so I planted over I think about 40 roses for one of her birthdays. And she inspires me all the time. And the great thing about this medicine that's universal, everyone uses it. Children's medicine. You can find those rose syrups. You know, as we get older, we find these beautiful roses in our body creams, in our skincare. We find these roses in our first aid. So it's a universal botanic. So it's great to have around. It's supportive for your emotions. And it's addictive once it's starved. You'll have roses forever. Like I'm trying to inspire you right now to take this home and put it in the ground, because it will grow.
Water first.
So I have this in water, and so I'm using a clay. So when I first do cuttings, just real quick, when I'm first doing cuttings, I will leave it in a clay vessel for 2 days because the clay vessel will create humidity inside, and so it will hydrate. It will create roots faster, and you will just dip this in honey and then put it in and let this sit for 2 days. Then you can stick it in the ground, and you'll have roots. So I want to inspire you for this as well. The meditation that we did today, I mean, feeling that connection of your own garden, that can be done anywhere. You don't have to be a shaman, you don't have to be a curandero, you don't have to be a healer to do this. Anyone can do this. And when your friends really need it, I'm telling you, Rose is going to pop up. You're going to be inspired to sit down with them so they can have a moment, so they can reconnect back to themselves. Yeah, you can follow me. Well, on PBS, you can follow me on Shaman Jesus Healing Gardens on there, Earth Connection. And then my Instagram is Shaman Jesus. And then the Herbal Action Project is our initiative where we teach children how to connect back into herbalism and the traditions of our ancestors, bringing that beautiful fruition of just the magic of herbalism into the school district is what we do as well. And so, yes, my friend, you have a question?
Say like I have one from my grandmother, like which cousins had way back, in the bottom of one grandmother.
Yeah.
And then for them,
So this little thought normally a 3 day for me. I do. So yes, before it's getting dark now. Please come back to the Botanical Garden. Really great. There is a 1920s room in the middle of the garden, a very historic garden, older than I am. So if you have traditional roses that are historic, that came from a lineage, I have a grandmother that came from my great great grandmother. So that medicine is perfect because it has your family. It knows your family's genetic code. It knows the spirit of your family. So therefore, that medicine is going to heal your family, a lot more. So it's great to have these traditions. That's why plant some roses for your kids because they will be there asking questions for Mima when you're an angel. So it's great to be there. I'm reminded every day when I walk into my grandmother's garden. She's not there, but she's still here. So that's what these beautiful entities do for us. I'm petting it like an actual pet because she is a beautiful, amazing entity. She's a child and she's still my mom. She brings us back into that spirit. And I hope that this has inspired you in some way to continue that legacy to grow some things. Next to Rose is our tree. Plant a tree right next to it so that climbing grows. Always has support. Doesn't have to depend on anybody else. And then your young can see that and find resiliency through their life, through their hardship. So my name is Chaman Jesus. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be with my friends and to be in your energy. And I will see you soon enough. I'm going to turn it over to my dear friend Mary.
Yep, we're often organic gardeners. Yeah, what a well, we missed all that. But anybody new? Sorry, raise your hand. Say name, hi, if you like you. I'm thinking. They welcome. Stay home. Everybody's there. No? No? Hillary, I'm. And so earlier we talked about this being an 80-year-old club, and we're happy to have new members on us here tonight. Raise your hands. Treasurers, people will happy to take your membership for donations for the workshop that we had as well. There's also a sticker there for donations for the supplies. What else am I missing? David, do you have anything to say about the garden here? Oh, here's some questions online. Yeah, okay. You want to answer the question, online?
Oh yeah.
Say it out loud.
So I will say it out loud. Thank you, Jesus. This would be wonderful for a hydrating face mask combined with aloe vera gel and maybe a bit of glycerin. Yes, I am going to try this on my clients. So all of those that they mentioned, perfect. So yes, you can put aloe vera gel and glycerin with your infused honey. So with your infused honey, with those, you would have a perfect facial for your client. Just make sure to steam the face so you can open up the pores before you do that.
Great question. Okay. What else? Any other announcements or anything about business of any kind?
Yeah, a couple of things. Mary mentioned garden. We do volunteer at the vegetable garden. Yeah, here in Milford, you can sign up and register for a Saturday morning if that if you do something you'd like to do. There's between 5 and 10 of us to go down there and do seasonal maintenance on the vegetable garden. There's a link on our website. Here, I just for some called Gift Hall. But good to sign up. One thing is, if it's been canceled, then we'll be there for that date. And then if you sign up and we cancel for rain or some other reason, you'll get an email. So the other thing is, it is April, and that is our kind of this office next a little bit late. So late. Yeah. My spot here, we're on the out of length of office. Open up open election, even we're talking all think of a lot of our current boards would probably continue in that position. But if you're interested, we we have, I'll just quickly go through it. The president runs this meeting, and our board meeting, the president is the person bring them. The secretary needs to take notes of our board meeting. The treasurer, Anna, is our treasurer. So, we're preparing to remember a word. Thank you. I think the second. So, no word. Myself, Marine, Blakely, Hannah, and Lake. If we're interested in anything with others, as a member of the we don't have a big meeting other than coming to the meeting and being on the committee to find the next year's lighting officer. So anything is interesting to you, we'd love to have you come look at it. Sign up for this year, or you're thinking about it for next year. Unfortunately, one of us will get into more detail. One that has the English course probably gets very said in the 80th year, and volunteers like us and potentially all that have kept it going year after year. So let us know.
Thank you. Without much more ado, I'm going to talk about roses. I'm done, sorry. Why I love roses. So, most people have a long, lifelong affinity with roses. I think I'm telling her that was when I was much younger. And I love rose lovers actually. I have early memories of my grandmother and in her pink bathroom, pink towels, rose scented soap. Yes. The garden, she was a florist. It doesn't fall, I don't fall far from the flower. I learned early that rose smells were my favorite and that were the line. So good memories are a big thing for me. I can tell something from the past and brings it all back for me, and the flowers really do that. I really love ancient lore about crazy things people did with roses in the past. In some old pictures, flowers speak to my sense of self and healing in the natural world. I'm a nature artist who likes to grow what I use for my art. I grow things for dye, steam, flowers, wreath making. We go next one, please.
Right with you.
Yeah, some old pictures, old roses. That rose on the right is in California, it's looks like this big. It came from my aunt. I can't grow that hair. But so the next one. So be a nature creator is kind of the heart of what I do. All the pictures that I'm showing you now are of my garden and my art. I've spent the last 15 years creating programming for different facilities and art shows and tours, also using plant therapeutic ways. So these are some of the projects I've done. I've made Venus with roses, paper and roses. That is on the left. Rose wreaths and rose. Those are kind of a God's eye. I really like palm. I use palm a lot. Next one. So the language of flowers. So a lot about the language of flowers from a book written by Glenn Clark called "The Man Who Talks with Flowers," and George Washington Carver was really wrote that or was all about that book, and he was really one of my favorite examples of how to communicate with flowers, and he talked really about loving them. And the meditation that I have for you now, if you pick up the flower in front of you, I'm gonna do something called flower gazing. So if you can take a minute to pick up your flower and get comfortable with it, put it in your hand, put it on the table, look at it. So you're just gonna gaze at it. It's a form of Taoist meditative practice. The flower is a living being whose unique vibratory pattern and energy can be deeply healing. Enjoy. So find a quiet place to practice with your flower. You want it about 12 inches in front of you at eye level. Be sure you can hold the flower comfortably within your visual field.
without having to turn your head from one side to the other or tilt. Take a couple of deep, slow breaths. Good together. Release any unnecessary tension, especially in your face and jaw, back, and shoulders. You are connecting with Earth energy. So feel your spine naturally lifting and rising like the stem of a flower. Allow your gaze to rest gently on the flower in front of you and smile gently, saying hello. It's your friend. While gazing at the flower, allow your eyes to remain soft and receptive. We invite our eyes to receive the image and energy of the flower, rather than using our eyes to reach out and grab the flower. Explore the different ways of looking into your eye, or using your eyes, and fall back into the receptive pose. And feel it coming into view. Your eyes are drinking in the color, shape, and scent and healing energy of the flower. Allow this healing energy to flow into your eyes and from your eyes to every cell of your body. Appreciate and gratitude for the gift of healing and offered by your flower. Allow your eyes to gently close. Feeling the flower in front of you. With deep, slow breaths, bring your attention fully back into your own body and thank your flower friend for being such a wonderful support to you. The next one. David. So what I love heirloom roses because they are so easy. So I had so much success with growing roses. People can't ignore them and leave them completely alone, and they will go crazy. So the one on the left is the before, and the one on the right is the after. It's actually the same plant, but it's got a lot bigger. And I really treated it very gently. I mulched it with manure and wood chips, and I was kind of hanging over in it, but when I put it up high like that and made it into a pillar, and so I actually learned this branch. It made such a spectacular show this year from just moving it over onto the crazy, and it grew twice as big in like years. And old rose that I did not plant. It came with the property, and it's probably been there 50 years. So it's an heirloom. And you know, this is why I really love antique rose and corn. So have any of you guys been there? Antique rose and corn. I've got some books here from them. Just kind of look at what they have. Mm-hmm. But even look this. So we have the garden of the heart together today with roses. I just want to pick roses that fit your space well. I love a rose that climbs and soars and brings height. This is a place that you want to feel surrounded by the scent of flowers and create a room all your own. They must be bright and sunny and have room to grow. In this time of climate change, we must have roses that are climate adapted, undrafted, drought tolerant. These roses are heirloom roses that perform that one. My roses have lived through the freezing apocalypse, cold, and have thrived, and even thrived 100-degree heat for 3 months straight. And I didn't want them, not this much. And they're still performing like that. So does anybody have a rose like that on their property that they inherited in some way from the previous tenants? Anybody? You do? Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The rose. I have no idea what it is, but it keeps growing and
Big?
it's a little too close to the house, so I can keep it pruned a little bit, especially on the backside. But not a climber. No.
Is it here, or is it like a
Have no idea. Yeah.
All the difference because the ones I buy from the antique rose emporium, aren't sort of stilted looking and only have one bloom. Is it like that or does it have a spray of them?
Right.
So yeah. The ones that seem that are grafted and, not heirloom are like one big bloom.
Mm.
That's called hybrid, I guess. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the difference. What do you think? Yeah. All right, next. Here. So these are those mulleins I was showing y'all in the class earlier. And they're freely, they really like the roses for some reason. And I have like 5 in a row. And I did not plant them. And they to really help the roses by dating them, and they're kind of a wild. I don't think they're indigenous, but they're. Oh, I love them so much. But they do pretty well in the heat here, and they're good for the underneath. So roses a lot of space, and they need a lot of sun, and they do pretty well even in poor soil. And mulch and manure, like wood chips and manure, makes them very happy. And I apply them once or twice a year. Cover crops and planting, roses really love. I kind of cover crop mixed in there. I like to keep my garden tall and thick with things like cover crops. You guys know what cover crops are? Anybody? Yeah. That's the other thing I've heard now. There's some 3 things here on the table to the right. I'm not sure it's a pot. But there's some rash stuff. And there's those seeds in the trays there are cover crop seeds. And the summer ones are the sorghum, millet, buckwheat. I can't daikon probably. Is that right? Something like that. And they are really great for retaining moisture in the garden, sequestering carbon, keeping dirt from flying away, producing green mulch. I use them everywhere in my yard because they literally create their own moisture. Haven't had rain in a month, and I walk through the garden before it's all wet. So it's really a recommended treatment. Organic fertilizers, fish, mulch, and seaweed, humus, molasses, manure, and those help with the microorganisms in the soil. You can release ladybug and pretty mantis for aphids, but honestly, I've never had them. So I think, organic is really the best approach. Spring. So if you can see that rose up in the tree, that reference came with the property also. And decided that was the trellis for itself. And and I've never heard of it. And it's growing up the tree. It's crazy, right? Actually prune something like that, unless it has a dead branch or little parts and pieces on there that can be trimmed off. Regular roses that are kind of smaller, I prune down to about 1/3. Like this thick one here, I would prune that. I did prune that every year on Valentine's Day because that's when you want to prune. But the big old giant stuff, never prune it unless I want to train it. And training means that you want it to go like on a trellis over top of ours or over it, something like that. And there's some that are sticking out because of the top. But I would cut that 1/3 down like I would a smaller bush, because that would impede it from blooming. And a lot of times these old roses, they only bloom one time a year. If you cut them in February, then you cut them off here. That's the trick about it. It's just if you don't prune old roses, you might get hit. Next one. All right, so I was in Europe last year. And these are some of the things I captured in Europe. Those crazy Europeans. So the one here on the right So that's the Greek myth there, if you want to do that, of, roses, how they were created. And you see that permeated all through Europe, that same kind of rose lore in every place you go. So this rose decorated car that was in Spain. This white rose here was in Pompeii, grooming of the, ruin. On the top there, left, that's Rome in the Vestal version. It's a temple inside the main thing there. That rose on her dress was when I was in line at the Pantheon. And I can't remember where that one was. I think maybe Italy. So maybe those on the inner Italy, and the one in the middle, I think was Greece. That one was going over the side of the thing. Okay, next question. So Rose wrestling. So I found this in that book, and there's some links up there also. A book called China Bale's Book of Days, 665 celebrations of the mystery, myth, and magic of words and flowers. And this page is from June, and they talk about how get these roses out of like old graveyards or abandoned houses or places on the side of the road. So basically, somebody did this a few years back and took them to the Rose Emporium, and that's how they have all the flowers. It's because a lot of them come from the rose rustling in Texas and other parts. So basically, but here how to make a cutting, and I love the one to talk about making that cutting with the honey and putting it in the clay jar. Oh my God, that's a great idea of how to rose. So there's some links there because once the Rose Emporium, I wanted to see the article about. Next one. Yeah, so more information about cutting as well. Mostly, that's how great. Anybody volunteer do that one and knows about rose cutting? That'd be cool. Because I'm grateful for her. I'm just trying, it's not been a success. So anybody has a trick, I'm gonna try a trick to give that work. But that's one of the instructions there if you want to look at it. All right, we go to the next one. Is anybody still looking at that one? So if you have one, my rose next. If you want to start this right here. It's made for the market a bit. And I actually use fresh rose petals, agave nectar, but you can use honey, lemon juice, rose water, disinfectant, and calcium water. And it's an uncooked recipe. I don't like to cook flowers if I can, because I really like the smell of that. And you cook that out, right? You cook that out when you do. I guess but yeah, so this we talked about rose water, rose sugar, etc. And that's in that book as well. The instruction flyer, or if you want to take any of the flyer, it happens in there as well. Go to the next. Yeah, candy flowers. So I've done this with clients too and children. And this also was in that thing you want to take a picture. Really fun activity around this time of year because there's so many edible flowers. And just basically sugar and egg white. Pretty simple. And the directions are also there. So next one. And this is another activity I've done, rose beads. And this one, is basically, drying the beads after you fresh them up. And I used, you can see the heart mold, I use heart mold to make hearts. And then you can see on the left there how it turned out. And that's also in there if you want to take pictures. So the next one is my flower next card. So all these ones in here that are flower meditations come in my deck here. So if you want to look at them a little bit, can. And then the one, no, one more. So this, yeah, and so the next thing that I have. So is there any questions? Yeah. For flowers to so right in the top right. Yeah. Flower and dollar that I created. Those are all retail flowers that I've grown. Sorry. That's flower mandala that I created. These are all flowers that I've grown that I just kind of created energetically that I was drawn to that I enjoyed making a picture of. And then later I thought more about what it meant, how the meanings were and how they went together. So then I created the meditation. So the meditation is on the back one. Each one, I have 40 cards and I made each one that way. And they're kind of old. I've actually made them 20 years ago. So they've been around quite a while. And I want them to be healing and helpful to people because they bring about change in the viewer. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, that so helped me with that issue I was going through when I drew that card. So I usually give the card away when they draw it, and that way they can have it and have the healing going for themselves. Okay, and then the last page is just those different books that I use. And that top right picture is Paris. I think it is. I think it's there. Not long. They get a little wild in Paris. And that was like covered in roses. Wait. Like, what's my favorite color? It's really hard. Lots of green rose. And green rose is very exciting. The green rose card right here. It's got a regular rose in the middle, but green around the edge. Okay. The green rose is basically a rose made out of the leaves of rose. And I think that's cool. So it has a deep healing power, the green rose does. That's what I'm talking about. And it's not particularly beautiful, but it's like got flower petals and it's taken, with no flower. They're green, but they look like a rose without flowers, but it's not leaves. It's crazy. It's really cool. Yeah, if anybody wants to look at it further. I can answer that. Today, this is my purple, these tiny little purple roses that I found along the back. So favorite of the day. How about that? Favorite of the day was purple, and it had a very. I was having everyone smell it earlier. I don't know if you were here with that. And it's tiny, and it's kind of purple, but it's just real delicate herbal smell. That was my favorite. You guys have a favorite rose? How are you doing? Yeah. You the name like the rose. So beautiful, floral things.
Can you repeat anything from the?
Okay. When the community. We're kind of looking to use the road. Anyone else?
One thing I was really down with you.
Yeah.
Being.
The living experience. Do you like that? That first one was one agreement, very unexpected. Yeah. Yeah. Sarah. Great. Well, it's so neat. Yeah. I have this really beautiful orange one that I had for my wedding. It died in 21 during the heat wave, heat waters and everything. But it was my favorite for a long time because it has the best smell. The best smell is definitely best smell is this. This how okay. Like some days they smell great, some days they don't. I think it's greaser. Yeah, and some days can't figure out why one smells when the I think they get water. So that's what I got. Any questions on what?
No.
Well, we made it to the end. Like, who wants some of this?
Mary.
Yes. Yes.
This is that. Then,
Yep.
where? Somebody that's bottom.
Bag of plastic or plastic from the greenhouse. Commercial greenhouse. They're quite almost.
Yeah.
Greenhouse, that's plastic. Those have a good enough life. But what's, well, right. Like